Greetings, programmers. I want to do a little extra credit video here, a little downloadable content, if you will. I had a lot of requests for how you put audio into programs, and I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is I'm going to be showing you how to put audio in your programs. You see it right there on the screen right now. The bad news is the recording software I'm using does not give us any joy in hearing these audio files. I need to upgrade to a pro version of the software in order to capture that for you. But I just want to talk a little bit about this, walk through how you use it, and give you some of my experience in working with this. So the very first thing you want to do is to initialize your mixer. You can leave the parameters in this blank, so I can just do pygame.mixer.init. But after reading some articles online, they seem to think that it helps if you set these values. And I don't remember off the top of my head what all these values are. I do remember the 48,000 is the sampling rate in kilohertz. But you can look up the documentation on that. Personally, I'd probably just leave it blank in my software. For these test cases, it didn't make any difference setting it to a default value or just leaving it blank. Next, I will look at putting in sound effects. So for the sound effects, you want to store it in a variable. I called this one punch because I got a punching sound, and I went through a lot of different versions of this, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But to load it, you do pygame.mixer.sound with a capital S, and inside there you put the name of the file that you want for your sound effect. Now, in my experience, I tried several different files. The AIFF format seemed to be the most usable to me. It had the clearest sound and didn't give me any problems. The documentation says that the preferred format is the OGG, or the open source audio file. I did get the open source audio file to play, but it had a high-pitched whine in there. In fact, if any of you know why that is, I'd love to have an answer to that. So if you could leave me a comment down below if you know how to fix that, because it was very annoying. It also says it supports WAV files, the .wav file, and when I tried to load that, it just basically popped at me like, and then that was it. It didn't actually play the file. I was very disappointed by that. I was really hoping that would work. I've done a lot of development in Java, and I was able to get the files to work just fine in there. But on this one, I couldn't get it to work. And then to actually play your file, so we have the, sorry about that, the punch.play, and this will play that file. And I'm going to show you an example of that. I just showed it to you just now. And how we would get that to work. So anytime I need to activate it, I just do the play on that file, and it should play that sound effect. Now, if you want music in the background to go with your sound effects, or even if you want to play music by itself, you should load it separately. And it is a music file, so we have the pygamemixer.music, so pygame.mixer.music, and then .load, and then you give it the name of the file. Now, the Pygame does say it does support MP3 files, but it's not universal support. It could vary from machine to machine. This one, it very wholeheartedly insists that you should use the open source OGG files, and I didn't even want to try with the MP3s, so I'm not sure if they would work for me or not. The OGG file did work just fine. Didn't have any problems with the playback on that. To play your music, you do the pygame.mixer.music.play, and that will play whatever the last loaded song was. I do want to caution you that it will try to play to its entirety. So if you don't have the program running, like if you just put those 2 lines of code into a program, it won't actually play your music, because your program will quit before it finishes playing the song, and it just won't play it. So you'd have to have something in there, either a thread timer or the example I'm going to show you. I actually am using a full Pygame class that will play the music. And then finally, there's a command in there, mixer.music.stop, and this will stop the music. So like, it's say you want to quit the music, shut it off, that's the way you do it. Now, I did find quite a few other commands in there that you could use with this, but I felt that these were the most basic ones you would need. Definitely, you could do a little more research on how to do other things with your music and audio files. But I just want to show you how you would use this in code. Okay, so here I have a basic program, and so after I initialize the PYGAME, I initialize the mixer, and again, it doesn't matter if you put the numbers in there or not, at least in my experience. If your experience differs, I'd love to hear about it and how it differed for you. Set up a basic canvas for this, and then here is where we're loading the audio files. So I have a punch, and I found some royalty-free music that I could put into a game. This one's called King of the Desert. It is an OGG file, and it's in a try except block. So basically what I try to do is tries to load the files, and if it can't find them, it throws an error. I do strongly recommend that you do this way. It will help you when you're debugging your code immensely. And I found it very helpful to recover from a few errors I was having while working with this. And then I have my PyGame loop here. While true, we're doing all this stuff. And then one of the events I put in here was to simulate what if I actually had this in a production game environment. So what I'm looking for is when you release the keyboard. I find it's more useful to look for when the key is released than when the key is pressed, because a key released only happens once during the event cycle. Pressing the key can happen continuously throughout the program. So here I'm looking when you release the P key, we're going to stop the music, so it's kind of like the pause key. The D key I have set up to play the punch sound. So anytime I press D, that simulates, hey, I'm trying to punch something. And the S key, that's just put in there to start the music. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to get this working in your programs. Just load it before you load everything else in your game and before your game loop starts. And then inside the game loop, whenever you need the music to start playing or sound effects start playing, just make sure that you started at that point in time. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you find it useful. It was very frustrating to me, so I just wanted to let you know that, so when you're working with it, just be aware that the music files that you get may not work for you the first time. I'm going to strongly encourage you, just look around, find more files. You'll eventually find one that will work for you. I'm also not releasing this as part of the main programming series because the way you do this in Python, the way you do it in Java is distinctly different, and I don't feel confident that I could put a video up for both languages simultaneously. So that's why I'm putting this into a different series. So that's that. So if you have any questions, again, remember to leave it in the comments. If you like this video, please throw a like on there so I know that I should produce more content like this. And remember, share with your friends, encourage other people to get involved with you. And remember, above all, have fun programming.